Quiet on set. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Let's Poddy podcast with your host, Benji Weatherly. It's the podcast where you learn absolutely nothing.
All right. Oh my goodness. This is an exciting Let's Poddy actually today because I want to be as diverse as possible and open-minded to so many different things. And this is something that I'm always been interested in, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm very spiritual. I know people say that, and there has to be something kind of scammy behind it. In America, we think of spirituality as something like, oh, sure, whatever. And the reality is, if you have traveled and been lucky enough to meet amazing people and find energies and things that you can't deny, or you can't find a reason why it's not really happening, which is so important to me because religion is great. But when you find, like, I lived in Bali for a long time, and you find Hinduism and Buddha and everything working in your life, when you are centered and you are calm and let things come to you and, really centered, I've had it work in my life. And when it works, it's the real true religion is when you see it working in your life, I believe. In spirituality, stuff like this that can actually change the way you feel and think about things is really exciting for me. And you are an expert. This is Heather, and you're going to help me with your last name because it's such a tongue twister.
Okay, Askinosie.
Askinosie. And I don't know much about her career, but she's an incredible jewelry maker.
Well, thank you.
And knows more about crystals than anyone I've ever met so far. And I can't wait to hear it because there's so many interesting things. I talked with my producer and partner, Annie Graziano. Say hi to...
Hello.
Hi.
How y'all doing?
And she actually worked for Heather for 2 years, I think.
Yeah, I did.
But I've known her for much, much longer. I think I've known Heather since I was probably about 7 years old.
Yeah, we've known each other a very long time.
Yeah.
Even then, I'm like, this girl's got it together. You could just see her gifts.
I know. She's a lot more savvy in tech than anyone I've ever met.
She's amazing.
But yeah, it's exciting times to talk about these things because I'm finally growing up enough in my life to accept the spiritual side of our human element and in the world and these crystals that you have. I see all around, especially where I travel and go places, and I've always kind of wanted to know what it all means.
Oh, okay.
And there's so much we got to talk about today, but if you don't mind, I kind of want to talk about the thing that's in front of me the most is what all of them kind of resemble or represent and stuff. And I know she was saying this one has to do with light.
Yes, this one is called selenite. And, I got into crystals, I would say, probably about 28 years ago. And back then, people weren't talking about crystals like they are now. And so for me, because I was in a very, very successful industry, I was selling high-end real estate in Manhattan Beach at that time, when houses were, $1 million plus then.
Right.
That was like a big deal. On the beach. Yeah, now they're, so it was like, whoa. But I was selling a lot of real estate, and I was making a ton of money, and on paper, I looked amazing. I mean, I had check, check, check. But inside, I was a mess. And something just didn't connect. And I ended up seeing this book in one of these stores I went. So I called the author, and I said, hey, look, I want to learn more about crystals. And she's like, if you want to learn crystals, then you need to come and see me in about the next 48 hours. And I said, well, all right. And I go, where do you live? She goes, I live on, the Big Island. And I said, I'm like, okay, I'll be there, and this is what you do when you're, young and single and don't, have time on your hands and whatever. So I went to her house, and I was with her. I was with her for about a week, and she's like, do you want to feel what Pele feels like? And I said, well, who's Pele? And I've obviously, from growing up, I've always gone to Hawaii. That's like my second home. But she took me and put all these crystals on my body, and it's like I went into down into the earth. And I felt fire and just all this stuff going on. And then I was there.
Are your eyes closed at this
My
point?
eyes are closed. I'm laying on a little mat. I'm in, the middle of Hilo and on the Big Island and chirping birds. And, it's just a typical Hawaiian home, right? But I was laying there, and it was the first time. I grew up in Manhattan Beach. I didn't grow up with, this was not
what you did on a Friday.
exactly. This isn't, my mom and dad didn't raise me to do this,
Right.
But what happened that day is that I felt something that was so different, and you can't even put human words to it,
Right.
but it transformed me. And so what happened was I ended up going home after that week, and I got violently ill. And it was almost like my body was going through a detoxification. But when I came out the other side, for me on an intellectual, because I'm a researcher type person, I'm like, you got to prove it to me. Where's the formula? Does this really work? And skeptical, I'm not going to kid you. But for me as maybe a type A person, fast, the stones, the energy of the earth helped me get centered. Okay, that was my tool. People have different things at different times in their life. For me, it was something I couldn't take a lot. Just like, hey, let me hold on to something. That's about as far as I got, okay? And so over time, I started to kind of research things and go on a journey. But really, I think at the simplest, it's the energy of the earth. When we hold the energy of the earth, when we go to simple things like breathing, meditation, whatever. I got into Kundalini because people are like, you want to push yourself every day where you want to you want to push yourself so hard every day that when life hits you, you're ready for it.
Is that yoga, right?
Kundalini is a form of yoga. So during this time, I was trying everything, like a alchemist, a scientist, what works, what doesn't.
This is after the Big Island experience.
This is after the Big Island experience. But then what I did is I stopped selling real estate because I used that money and I started traveling the world, and I started studying in Bali, and I was going to medicine men and kahunas. I was a lot in Hawaii, a lot on every island in Hawaii. But so that's where the journey of the stones kind of started, and then I started helping professional athletes. Really kind of, I think that was my gift, because it's a mind game, right, in athletics. In all of the athletes. And so what happened was the stones were a way for people to get out of their heads and start getting into their body, where they could detach from their mind and they could get into where they needed to go to be the best in their industry. And so all the crystals do different things, but it's not like one crystal, like this. The thing that's cool about crystals, even if you don't know anything about them, like when you saw this, like,
they're beautiful.
What does it look like? It looks like,
yeah.
It's not that complicated. Mother Earth makes it simple.
Actually, it looks like Superman, the movie.
Yes.
What is it?
The kryptonite?
No, but the one where
Yeah.
this one planet that they go to?
Yes,
I think it is.
Where
I
he's
know
in the
exactly what
cave
you're talking
and
about.
they're
But
all-
it looks like that, and that's why, as a child, you
The
always...
good crystal, not the crystal
Yeah,
that
this
Yes.
is like one that
powers.
The
is
good
for
one.
you,
Yes,
whatever.
absolutely.
And it does, and it's so beautiful. All of them. There's some that you can't believe. The one wood...
Oh, the petrified wood.
Petrified wood. It's unbelievable. It's a piece of art from Earth.
Yeah, and
So
they're
beautiful.
and like this is just made this way. This is how it came out of the earth. So that's what I always thought was cool about crystals, is that, this is malachite. This comes out of, for me as a traveler, I love that this comes from Russia. I love that this comes from the Dominican Republic. I love that this comes from Colombia. So
That's the one right there. This is the one that looks like Superman.
Yeah, this one is. And so they say that this one has a similar energy to the dolphins and the whales, which are the most advanced energies on planet Earth.
They are surfers. They
Yes.
ride waves and they're having fun. And then when they see a boat, they get up right next to the boat because they want to feel the energy of the boat. I would always ask, like, are they doing that just to play? And they're like, no, the actual sound waves coming off the boat just makes them want to be right near it. And I was just like, wow, they're connected to the earth more than, just probably any kind of human being could ever be.
When you know that they're around you, you know things are going good.
Right.
You know, 'cause
the
they're-
evil
they-
spirits aren't there, meaning Jaws. For real.
Yeah. So, people hold on to crystals or look at crystals, and I think the best way, if you don't know anything about them, is just to hold them. And sometimes it's just the color or what they look like. And this one's called Labradorite.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
Insane.
So
it looks like one of the rocks you would skip on a lake, but if you did, I'd kick your ass because I want this one. Put that back in my house. That's beautiful.
I've seen full countertops made of that.
Yeah, so people now are making countertops in their homes with Labradorite.
Can you even see how cool that looks?
Yeah. It looks, and they call this the Aurora Borealis crystal. Because they're saying that basically the energy of the Aurora Borealis is held within the stone. And so, when you're on a journey or a spiritual journey or whatever it is, what are we doing? We're trying to kind of find out our true passion, our true gifts, our true
understanding. It's all about understanding, right?
Exactly. What are we doing here? What are we? How are we pushing ourselves? How are we growing? How are we evolving? And it's not that the crystal's doing it. It's a tool to help you open up. Because I don't like to give my power away to something else. Like it's not. The crystal's not like changing my life. I'm ready to change my life.
Not only the most beautiful looking things in the world, but they're from our world. Like we didn't do anything. This is here. That's what makes it so beautiful. Everything you see in our world that we live in, it's like man-made, or we put so much work in it to make this beautiful sculpture. These came out of the ground, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other question I have. Are these all different levels of going down?
Of mining,
are some of these super far
Some
down?
of them, most of them are not that deep down.
Really?
They really
I'm
are
gonna
kind
go
of
dig
surface.
in the yard later. This is going to be fun.
They're not all of them are so deep down, but and that's a big conversation in mining right now, and how are they being taken out of the earth? Kind of like with food and just with everything. There's conversations going on with all of this kind of stuff. But what's interesting is that usually people will be attracted to crystals or other alternative methods if maybe they're in a transition point in their life, or they are going through things and they want to go a different route that kind of is more inward. And that's a whole other journey in itself. So it's interesting what when the entry point is for somebody where they're being attracted to the stones, And it's a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For some people, it's a total like, oh my God, they work with them and everything. Some people just wear them. Some people have them in their house because they think they're pretty. So it doesn't have to be some big.
Does this one mean the world to you for the color or the stone?
I like this one because it's amethyst. And amethyst is one of my, first of all, I love the color of it.
It's cool.
I feel like
looks like the couch.
It looks like the couch, and it's very colorful. It
looks like almost the rings that you suck on as a kid.
Yes,
beautiful
one
rings.
of those little pops.
The ring pops?
The ring pops.
It's a ring pop. It is my crystal ring pop. And you know what? Who doesn't need one of those, especially in today's times?
And that 100%. One brings just incredible energy. And
this one is just a stone. It just helps you keep. For me, it helps me to keep centered and to keep my mind clear. I think life's a mind game, especially right now, and I always want to make sure that I'm monitoring my thoughts. I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole in the matrix of that. Mm-hmm. And
it's a good reminder too, also, right? When you look at it,
it's a reminder. Yeah. Absolutely, and so that is, hey, whoa, what's my intention? Am I going there? Where I could choose my thoughts. Do I want to integrate it with something else? What do I want to keep focused on? So that I'm going in the direction that I want to go in.
That's what I do with tattoos of my friends that have passed away. I hate tattoos. In fact, me and my mom always joke about it. I go, I would never get tattoos. She's like, you got 2 tattoos. And I'm like, well, reminders. I mean, it really is. These are my reminders whenever I see this or the one under my arm here, that it reminds me of the 2 best people in my life. So it's like, kind of like, I should have some jewelry too to remind me.
Well, I brought some from you.
This is
so interesting. Let me see.
This one actually has the same initials of this guy. This is my best friend.
Oh, what?
And he was the best. And he had JVC on this one as well.
I'm sorry. And then why here?
Because I lived with him, and that was my best friend when I was 21. His name was Todd Chesser, and he drowned when I was his roommate, and he was my hero and everything to me, and my best friend and everything. And so when he passed, I didn't know what was going on. I got it when I was 21, and when I came home, I remember my mom going, "I'm not even mad. but you got a tattoo?
Yeah.
It was so funny. I remember my mom going, I can't believe you got a tattoo, but I get it because she knew it was my best friend.
Well, then you have, what's this one though?
That one was my ex-wife's initials, and she didn't pass away, but
Wow. Okay, she's strong. When
strong.
did you get? When did that?
that was a while ago. I was
Like
young and
5?
stupid. I was young. I was done. This one is going to be a crystal soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get a crystal ring.
Crystal
Put it
ring.
over it.
Crystal ring.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, a crystal
It'll be like
ring.
the Italians, how they have the pinky ring.
Absolutely. So what happened is sometimes people would come in and I would give stone readings. So for example, if there was a professional athlete and we usually Energy Muse was the last stop before they lost their career. You know, the agent would be like,
Gotta get out of the slump.
We tried everything to get you back on track. Go see these people, you know. And so they'd come in and a stone reading, and what happened was one could zero in as to where the resistance or the stuck energy was of
what was holding them back, if you will.
Thank you.
Right.
You know,
Also, I would love, like, I don't know if this is possible with the stones you've brought, Heather, but to do a little crystal reading on Benji.
I mean, I'll keep it clean, Benji.
Keep it clean? Oh, boy.
keep it clean.
Do I have to keep my pants on?
Well,
What's going to happen? Is this a uni? I'm kind of interested to find out what you're talking about.
Let's see. So what happens is, and I only have a few of them today. Sometimes people will come in and they'll pick stones. It's called a stone reading. And then what I'm doing is I'm not reading you. I'm reading the stones that you pick. And it might relate to something going on with you. But, you know, we'll go from there. But anyway, so that's it. And you could edit this part out.
And
or
you,
not.
how many do I pick out?
However, so just take a look in here and just kind of see what you're most attracted to. Just kind of touch and feel. And just pick out the ones that you kind of, you're like, I don't know why, but I just like that one.
I really like that one.
Okay. So this one you like.
I don't know why that
Well, now
happened,
you-
but I like that one a lot. I like this one. That one's pretty cool. I think I'd say those, and then maybe that blue. The blue one is my favorite.
Okay.
That's my favorite. I keep doing hearts. There we go.
Wow.
I do have 2 hearts here, which is
You did?
weird.
Okay.
I didn't mean to either. I just like that blue one.
All right. Is
And
there
the
anything
black one.
else?
That's it.
Okay. So
This should be funny.
Yeah.
She's like, you like In-N-Out Burger.
Well, don't we
You're a
all?
horrible
We
driver.
all like all that. Okay. So basically, you picked 4. Benji picked 4 stones. You want me to pull them up? I know Benji talked about how he doesn't care about money, but I think like
Oh,
there's some
cool.
big,
I'm going to be rich.
well, I think that there's some good money stuff coming your way.
Oh, cool.
I mean, like, and it's almost like not because you're focused on it. It's almost like because you're not focused on it,
Yeah.
it might all wrap up for you. But we'll see what happens. So anyway, he picked these 4 stones. So I definitely think right now, and you know how sometimes in life we're ready to deal with shit, and then sometimes we're not. Like we're like, I'm going to escape, and I don't want to deal. And then there's times we're like, you know what, I'm ready to deal.
Right.
You might be moving into some deeper waters right now, which is great. Not saying that you couldn't have dealt with it before, but maybe now you're, I don't know, if there's been enough time or there's a little bit more maturity or whatever. So this is really about taking on and maybe looking at some of the grief and how that's been locked in your heart and letting that go. I don't know if you've been talking to somebody more recently. So it's weighing heavy. And I think what's happening right now for you is it's interesting because this is a stone of self-worth. And I think you're kind of going through a period right now of what's worthy for you and who you really are and what matters to
matters,
you.
right.
Does that make sense? Versus,
It means so much right now because that's exactly what I'm dealing with. It's like, what do I really want for myself? Before I was giving up, I was like, I guess this is it. You know, I actually was saying that to myself. I guess this is as good as it's going to get, and I'm kind of just throwing the hat in, and I've completely turned the switch, and now I'm going just skyrocketing for happiness. Like I'm just trying to find a way to deal with all the bad stuff in the best way possible with production and keeping my head down and working hard and just being distracted with creating rad art and stuff. So that's kind of what it's been going on.
well, and what's good about what's happening for you, and I don't know if you feel this is true or not, but it's almost like you're starting to live your life for what you really want versus what you think you were supposed to be doing.
Yes, that's
or for
exactly what
somebody
it
else.
is. It's
Okay.
I'm finally doing what I want.
Okay, so that's like the other side of the coin, right? And that's really amazing. So what's interesting, what's happening right now for you is if you focus in on your heart, which I know that doesn't sound like fun, but there's a lot of healing and a lot of release work you can do right now, okay? And so that's important. I do feel, I know you're not focused on money or whatnot, but I almost feel like as you open your heart and you kind of don't avoid some of these things, because I know they're not fun, but you're strong enough to go through the tunnel to get to the light. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
But I really do feel, and when you say that about your best friends and other people, you really are not alone. And it's interesting, and I gotta you're really not alone, because you have such access at any point to call it in.
Yeah.
And so do that, okay? Because this is almost like a galactic. This is like the universe. This is like not just.
It looks like it too.
It does. This isn't just like here in this little pocket of time, okay? You're bursting open. So I know there's some heaviness right now, but if you can be in it a little bit, you can break it open, okay? And through that, you're going to actually be living this life authentically instead of...
That makes so much sense right now. It sounds so ridiculous, but I've felt...
wait, do we love this guy? I love this guy.
No, but I'm telling you,
Come
that's what
on.
I've always been told since I was young. This is so silly, but my friends are always like, you should do stand-up. Why wouldn't you do stand-up? And I'd always in the back of my mind go, yeah, I'm going to do that one day. And I would picture myself on this stage making people laugh, and it was always a fantasy. It was a fantasy. It was like, of course I'm going to do that one day. And everyone in their life has those moments where they're like, I'm going to be a doctor, and I'm going to really do it someday. And then it never happens, but you're always feeling that their fantasy. It's just a fantasy, right? Well, now I feel like I'm finally going to go after my dream. And it was always the dream of being a pro surfer that I thought was the dream. But it's not.
What
it's
was
something
then?
else right
At that point in time, it was.
At that time in my life, I was such a young little kid. All I wanted to do was be a pro surfer because I knew it was the best option, for one, because my scholar ended at, I got dropped out of school when I was 14. But I wasn't driven by knowledge and history and English and just anything grammar. And so I would always try to be a pro surfer because I thought, this is my way out, and this is it, you know. And then the older I got, the more I realized, no, I do have a brain, and you know what, I can do more with what I have. I've been given. I always thought I was just a physically able person, sports, athletics, but now I'm really like, oh, that's not what makes me happy. When I go out and I get a big barrel, and everyone's like, that was a wave of the day, and I would be like, yeah, that makes me feel amazing. And then like the next day, I'd be like, I don't feel it anymore. You know, that feeling's gone. And so I'd go out and try to get it again and get it. Biggest error of the day. Yeah. And then the feeling would go away. And now I'm realizing like the real feeling is just putting myself in harm's way in a sense. That sounds kind of crazy, but more or less just like putting myself out there to fail or succeed and challenge myself when everyone else doesn't want to do it. So like if I lose friends all the time, but when someone in my life dies, I like to be right in it. I like to be right next to the person that lost him. Like one of my best friends died a month ago here, and his wife. The first thing I did is I went to his wife and his son just right away and grabbed him. You know, I grabbed him and I'm like, I'm here. Because the only thing you don't want to do when you lose something really close to you is think about yourself. It's never about you when you lose somebody, but everyone kind of likes to think that. Mm-hmm. They always want to say, poor me, I had the last dinner with them and I remember this, and it's all about that, but it shouldn't be about that. It should be about them and their family, and like put all your energy into it because it helps you, right? And that's all I've been doing with all the hard things that happen in my life. I like to go towards it as fast as possible instead of avoiding, because when I avoid scary or meaningful things in my life, which is really easy to do, that's where the depression comes in. That's where give up goes, because as soon as you're not around the tragedy, you're by yourself with that tragedy. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm drawn to the fire. I always have been. It's like that's why when this guy passed away, I took his mom to Tavarua and I was 21, and I took her to Tavarua because I needed to be near the fire. I needed to be right there, because without it, I would have been miserable, screaming, why, and why is this happening? Why is this happening? And by being next to her and having her cry every night, we go through photos of him and all that stuff, and having that, it helped me. And then when I lost that man at 21, I lost so many people since then, and I can handle it because of that experience. That experience of being in the fire with her made me who I am. I was 21, and after that, every person that died or passed away or was going through drug issues, or I would be the fire. I would be next to him. I would be right there, and it really changed my life. And now I realize the surfing part isn't the mission. It isn't my goal. It isn't the happiness that I seek. It's this. It's realization. It's understanding that all the pain and suffering that I've had in my life is a lesson. It's an actual character-driven thing that I look for now, because there's so much tragedy that if I said poor me, I would be in the street doing heroin. I would be jumping off a cliff. There's so many ways I could give up. And a lot of people can't believe that I haven't. They're like, I can't believe you're going to do stand-up with your dad in the hospital and he's going to die. And you're going to go try to make people laugh right now? And I'm like, yep. Yeah. It's so crazy. It makes sense to me.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the most important person, right?
Yeah. The only person I can make happy is me.
So the reason, and as we circle through this, the reason I told you that story at the very beginning about how I look good on paper, but inside, there was the journey.
Right. And you sold $1 million house and you're like. Yeah.
So, but it's true for you too. Like how the illusions and what we think, but what resides inside is really what
we have to live with.
So maybe you're teaching people how to feel.
I hope so. I definitely want to make fun of them.
And that's a good way. That's the first way. That's the best way.
That's the start. I have a starting point.
That's what we're really here to do, is to kind of educate people. In my humble opinion, I think we have to start getting reconnected to our planet again. People are spinning out of control. And, I was just in Spain, and I hope I'm saying this name right, Akshi. He's a big wave surfer. And we ended up meeting him. And his whole thing was about how we have to bring passion back, and how he's a big wave surfer, but just in the oceans and the sea. And we need to unite again. And we bringing back that respect to Mother Earth, bringing back the respect. As a surfer, obviously, there is a respect with the ocean. You don't go into the ocean and think you're going to conquer that, because
you don't eat sharks. You just don't do certain things.
Yeah, there's certain things that you don't do. Yeah. But just, finding that passion, and also just really reconnecting, because if we don't take care of our planet Earth, we'll be gone before she is. And we're kind of at a tipping point right now.
I know. So. We've gone a big backwards with recycling in the last 2 years. Take away canisters and everything. It's like we're worried about COVID, but we should be worrying about this trash and stuff. It sounds so weird that I brought that up. Yeah. But the other day, I'm like, why aren't we talking about the things we talked about before COVID? Like when we're taking care of our planet, what happened to all that stuff?
Well, maybe that's what you're here to be doing.
I hope so.
Because
that's
what I mean?
Job.
Yeah, because it's all about bringing awareness back and maybe shifting the conversations again.
Yeah, we need to go back to Mother Earth being important, and not just about the stuff that's going around us that are day-to-day things. We need to look at the big picture.
So I have a question for you. I'm assuming you grew up in Hawaii, or you're from Hawaii? Okay. So I always been very interested in all the, how they do the chanting to the lineage of the whole. Yeah. And I always, whenever I go over there, I was with my friends that do that. It seems like that's important. Was that something that you grew up with, or what did you learn about that?
I grew up in a Polynesian, Samoan, it's pretty much the same thing, but like a very big community of Polynesians, big Polynesian people. And they were Mormon in my area.
Okay, yeah.
So it was very different. Like it wasn't as tribal, Polynesian tribal kind of heritage in my area where I grew up. But in Hawaii, of course.
Were you on the North Shore?
I was on the North Shore, went to school at Kahuku. And Kahuku and Hauula and Laie is all Samoan, not all, Tongan. We even have Laotian. And they would all, the community was all pretty tight. And then we had the Polynesian Culture Center there, right? So that was kind of like, it was almost like a commercial way for our community to show their heritage, right? Mm-hmm. So it was really cool, but it was almost so commercial that I never really got super deep in it. Our school would go there for projects, and I'd get a little bit of, videos of the old days in Polynesia and all the dancing and all that stuff. But, as a white little kid growing up with all those people, I was on the outskirts looking in, and I would always when I luckily got to start traveling when I was really young to those places, Samoa, Tahiti and all that, and I would see more of it there. Okay. So Hawaii was America. So a lot of it was pushed to the side, which that's what we're talking about right now is we need to keep it around. Like we have to, because being a white guy, it's like, I don't want to have In-N-Out commercials as my culture. And if we lose our Polynesian side of our Americans that we have in our country, then we're really screwed because, like you say, the chanting and just having
you feel
such
it, but you don't even know
like
anything.
New Zealand, like the Maoris, they're hot,
But
and
don't
they're
you
all
feel
like,
that in your whole?
No,
like,
you get chicken skin.
Like I just got,
talking
and
about
I
it.
have to tell you that was good.
It gets you
But
chicken
there's a
skin.
grounding source. There's
Yeah.
like almost like we resonate on a sound,
Yeah. Oh.
and all of a sudden you're in a whole different
Yeah.
state. And I always wonder when I go, I'm like, what's happening to this? It's so powerful.
We as weird, normal, just white, boring people, we listen to John Mayer, and it's like, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it is the drums. It's always the tribal comes with the beats and the rhythm coming from it, and we can't lose that.
Well, they say that the Big Island is the first chakra, like your root. And I have to say, when I went there many years ago, I never went back to the Big Island again because it scared the shit out of me.
Oh, really?
Because back then, I mean, it's different than now, but back then when I did what I was doing, it's an intense island, and it could rip you right open if you're.
Yeah, I mean, talk about energy. It's coming straight out of the earth right there.
So it took me
growing.
about 15 years before I went back to, I dabbled over in Kauai and Maui and all the other islands, but they say that each island has its own teaching and its own lesson. Oahu's the throat chakra. It's the expression, in Kauai is, the third eye, your intuition. So it's just the Hawaiian Islands, you can travel wherever, but there's a mana there. There's an energy there.
Is there ever going to be a time where you might move there?
I've played around. I feel like I'm there a lot. I'm like, God, I've got to go over the whole. I will say, my family always hears, I'm like, Hawaii is calling.
Yeah.
That I hear the call. But I would love. I'm in and out a lot. Do you go there a lot?
Yeah, well, I still live there most of the time.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I still live there. I
North Shore?
I just got a house in San Diego 2 weeks ago, so I've been there the last 5 years. I own a family restaurant that I took over a while
Wait,
ago.
where? What?
On the North Shore of Oahu.
Wait, where? I was just there.
Breakers in Haleiwa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Wait, you're doing podcasting, you have a restaurant, you bought a house.
I'm doing stand-up. You got to remember that. No, I'm kidding.
You're doing
You're
doing stand-up?
I'm just trying, this year, I'm going to try to do as many things as possible so nobody wants to see any more of me after this show.
Oh, my God.
I did a surf TV show with some turkeys, like just trying to push everything on people so they're like, I don't want to see that guy ever again.
So what motivated this? What kind of you
I
decided
think-
this year, why?
I kind of was tired of as a pro surfer for 27 years, I challenged myself so many times and put myself in uncomfortable situations, and I missed that. I was depressed. I had no direction. I'd wake up not knowing what I really wanted to do anymore because everything I was doing was not the same feeling. It wasn't not challenging and all that stuff. So I decided to put it all. I lived in Bali at the time, and I put all of it on the line to go help my mom save this restaurant. She was in a lot of debt, and there was no way that she was going to pull it off. So I sold my house here in Leucadia and moved there and bought the restaurant and been there for 5 years. Learned how to work because as a pro surfer, at 14 they started paying me to surf. 38 is when they stopped paying me how to surf. And I was like, I don't know how to work. I don't know how to manage people. I don't know how to manage myself. I'm horrible with finances, all these things. So I decided, okay, I'm jumping in. And I took over the restaurant and learned how to wash dishes, how to work on the line. I'm really into cooking. So I was really passionate about doing the menu and weighing in food and doing the cost and everything. So I learned a lot in 5 years. And then after that, it's now the restaurant's crushing it. We got through COVID and everyone's happy. The town loves it. And then I decided I'm going to go back to creating and being silly and fun and do my old stuff. So I did a surf TV show, and now I'm doing stand-up, and I'm going to do podcasts.
Wow. So just a question, because when if you hear when you think of a surfer, just from the outside, in my head, I'm like, how can you possibly be depressed if you're in the ocean every day?
I mean after the pro surfing.
Because they say that sometimes with surfing, you either could go in happy and come out happy, or you could go in pissed off and still come back, pissed off. So I'm like, oh, it's purifying. It's this and that. Is it?
It is until your best friend when you're 21 that you look up to drowns, and he drowns.
Were you there? Right.
I was luckily I got there the day after because it would have been hard to see him the way he was when he passed away. But I was here in Long Beach at a trade show, and I got the cover of the magazine that he called me the day he passed away. It was between me and him for the cover. So that last voice message I got from him saying, "You fucker, you got the cover. It's all good. At least you got it." And he ended up getting the center spread. And then that day when he hung up, he passed away. He drowned. It was 25-foot alligators. Yeah, it was messed up. And so I flew back the next day. We had his funeral, and I was now 21. So I never lost anyone that close to me, and it was the guy, and it was all our best friends. It was in this documentary. It's called Momentum Generation, and it tells the whole story about it. And it's, no matter how many times I see it, hear it, anything, it's still the hardest thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
How do you process this through?
Well, I hated surfing, so that's what brings up
Okay.
this topic. Is I actually hated it, and for 3 years I lived on the North Shore. I ended up moving to California 3 years later, but I hated surfing. I remember driving by alligators every day, pissed. Like, fuck this place, fuck surfing.
Well, yeah.
Fuck. And then I had a few more friends drown in a few more years. And then I was like angry about the fact that this is the life choice. That's because I always was more connected to my friends and traveling and having fun than the actual sport. Right. So my career was based more than just going out and ripping. It was more of like, I'm a good human being that wants to make everyone around me better. So I was like the guy that everyone's like, hey, bring him, he's fun, you know? So I'd always have that kind of outlet. And then when I'd lose a friend, I took it the hardest because I cared so much about these people that maybe because my father was never really there when I was younger and stuff, and I kind of needed it. But when I would get so close to these people and then I would drown or I would lose them, I took it so hard that I would hate the sport when I didn't realize I needed to vent and have different things that I can kind of go to. That's what Bali helped me, is all
Bali's
the
amazing.
healers.
Where were you in Bali?
And I always stay in the Phuket, or I'd stay in like Kuta. I like Kuta,
Yeah.
even though it's a little gangster and you can't hear anything but horns.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Bali's an interesting place too. But is
It
Bali
is.
similar to Hawaii, where you either, and I don't know if
Yeah.
you agree with this or not, where the island either lets you in or it doesn't,
yeah,
and you either get to stay or you don't,
yeah. That's a good
and things happen or whatever. So
karma's a bitch there.
it is a bitch.
It's a
Yeah,
bitch.
you don't want to play around. There's some islands you don't play around with.
Yeah,
And that's why whenever a kahuna or a heel, whatever, she always said, when you come to the islands of Hawaii, this is just what I always learned, or any island. She said, you always come in, the first thing you do is you get a glass of water, and you say prayers into the water. Thank you for whenever I lie on any island in Hawaii, I'm like, God, thank you for letting me be here. I'm just so grateful, thank you. And I will say prayers of gratitude to the earth, to the mana, to the Hawaiian lineage, and I will pour that water into the earth. And what she said is that will always protect you, because the first thing that you do when you arrive in our islands is you pay respect to the ancestors, to Pele, who I mean, I'm bringing out the booze and the chocolate, and I'm like, because it's like,
I want to be there when you get to Hawaii.
But yeah, well,
booze,
yeah,
chocolate, let's
whatever, you know what I'm saying? But now my kids and my family, we will never go to there and not do that, because there's an honoring you pay. At least that's what I believe. Yeah. And I feel like we need to get back into that again, because it's important, and it's alive over
tradition
there.
too for you guys now. And
yeah, it is a tradition.
And that's why, like, a lot of people think haole means white person, and it's actually means a person that disrespects their culture. So, like, the meaning behind haole, I know eventually she's going to have a laptop and we're going to have her, like, Google everything. But the actual meaning behind it is like a person that comes into their place and disrespects what they have, which is their culture and everything. And I always, even growing up there, I always thought, like, because that's what even the local people, if they see me or you or Annie, they're like, hey, what's up, Holly? And it's really kind of a harsh, really degrading comment towards us, but we just kind of shrug it off because we think it's just white person. But really, it's if you're a disrespectful white foreigner, I should say, a foreigner, you could be anybody. If you're disrespectful and you're not living up to, like, what you're saying, which is exactly what it means, like getting the water and paying tribute to where you're at and paying respects. That's what it really means, is we're not paying respects by being a foreigner. And that's exactly what you learn when you're there. It's basically, don't be a haole. You're like, don't be a haole.
Exactly.
Be there, be respectful. Don't fricking be a haole.
Yeah.
And that's really that's cool about that saying, is like, I believe in it. It's like, don't be a haole. And I try my best growing up there because I don't want to get my ass kicked.
No, well, yeah. Well, absolutely.
True.
Well, I think it's really commendable you're on a journey of transformation, because not many people would be as brave to push. I mean, you've gone through a lot of grief. I mean, I don't know how you've processed it. My dad recently just passed, and it's a I don't know. No one could really prepare you for how it will affect you and the layers of the emotions and all this. So I think it's really brave and commendable that you are doing what you're doing, because people need to be inspired right now and know people. I don't know about me. I want to see someone who's really doing something.
Right. I
And like,
agree.
tell me what happened. Like, how'd you get through it? Like, what happened? Like, I want a real story. You know?
I feel that the only way for me to get through my pain and struggle and all the depression and not being the guy now, because I always thought when I was a pro surfer for so long, people would always put you on a pedestal and treat
Like
you
a
so
god?
great. Yeah, and I never felt good like I did when I accomplished the restaurant. When I have the people that work for me, and I went through Afghanistan. I mean, it was really hard, ups and downs, fights, arresting, breaking some of my employees out of jail. Just the stuff.
What was your mom doing during this whole time?
She's retired and chills at the house, and
Okay.
then comes in and kind of gives her 2 cents. I love my
Okay.
mom so much, and that's the only reason I wanted to do this project. But at the end of it, the whole project was so much more meaningful that I never got from surfing, which is so weird because everyone I meet are like, "You're so lucky. I can't even believe your life. You're a pro surfer. All you do is travel, and everyone kisses your ass, and it's amazing." And I can tell you firsthand, it never made me feel important. It never made me feel whole. And that's why I tell you about going to Bali, because I felt whole because the people treated me better than the guys that were like a surf fan, because it was just this honest energy that was just always smiling and cuddling and talking and you felt the love. And so for me, it was always like, if I'm going to get through all this stuff, I have to be completely honest and go towards the fire.
But at the end of the day, for me, spirituality is tapping in what you love. Because sometimes if we get blocked and stagnant and we stop doing what we are here to do or what we enjoy or what we push ourselves, then who cares?
That's so true.
Like, who cares?
I know.
So for me, or whatever yours was or whatever, it's crystals. That's how I help people kind of move through their stuff. But there's a whole bunch of other ways.
Mine's making fun of them.
And you know what? And thank God.
Thank God. I just want to know
Thank
which
you.
one's going to help me be funny.
You're already hilarious.
I'm gonna go.
I mean, my God. There you go.
This one, is this a brass knuckle?
That's a brass knuckle, Tibetan brass
It's
knuckle.
beautiful, though.
Yeah, there it is.
This right here, this little circle of stuff has more dynamic pieces than any place on earth. Look, I mean, it goes for
Yeah,
years.
it does. It's a
insane.
little.
This
Yeah, there it is. That's for
Like the ocean. It looks like the beach.
Okay, there you go. But I have sometimes women that come in and they're so angry or bitter or whatever, because women get like that. And I'm like, have you been to the beach lately? And they're like, no, I don't have time to do that and whatever. And I really do think that there are people that are landlocked, that some people have to be in the water. Like, and I almost think that and I will call them like a mermaid or where they
I'm a
dry.
merman.
You are.
Merman.
You are a merman.
Okay.
But when you're a water person and you are too much on land, it's almost like you dry up. Your creativity dries up. Yeah. And so one of the things is like reminding people, get back to the beach, get in the water. You got to go back to your place that gives you your power. And so sometimes, you know, if you're a water person, you can't be landlocked too much because it'll dry up your creativity.
And I mean, that's like a beautiful painting of the ocean and the beach.
And that's how it came out of the earth.
Earth made this. It's so crazy.
Like,
and then what happens when you guys do this? I'm sorry to interrupt, but is this a bigger rock and they just shape it?
Yeah, sometimes. But also,
why do they make it a certain point?
A point. Sometimes they shape it so that it's just like an energy. It's going upward, and people like to just, you know. And what happens is you could just put it on a table, and it also looks cool like that too. But so that's a pointed piece, and you know, some of them come out of the earth like this. This is something they call a dual flame. So people that are looking to have love in their life will have a crystal that has two of them. Woo!
Oh, like connected.
Awesome.
They're connected, and so
It looks like it's gonna fall.
Yeah, but sometimes people put that in their bedroom, and it's there you go. Came out like that. There it is. It's all. So it's.
Are these all your favorites?
Well, these are I have thousands of favorites, but yeah, these are my favorites right now in this moment of what I grabbed today.
Is this a meditation beat?
Those are malas for meditation, or just rolling it, clearing the mind, keeping centered, trying to keep it together.
I'm like totally spun out, I throw toothpicks all over the floor and pick them up one by one.
There you go. That's a form of meditation. That's intense.
Definitely meditation.
It's intense. It started at a young age. Me and my old friends that lived on the North Shore, we'd go to school and we'd always like we'd torture each other. And we'd sit in the car after school and just see who could stay in the longest because it was like 1,000 degrees, like right before summer. Like, and then the last guy would get out and be like, loser.
Is it competitive?
It's
like
a competitive
spirit?
torture because that's why athletics are so fun to me. It's like I want to challenge myself to a point of almost give up, or I give up, and that's even cooler. But I love doing that kind of stuff. It's so ridiculous.
And what do you feel like when you win, when you succeed?
I like hiking now. That's my one because I like going and seeing a hike and going, oh my God, are we going all the way up there? And then when you finish it, you're like, I just did that. Like it's that conquering thing that I think men used to be. That used to be our kind of like character-driven quality is go out and conquer
like
things,
hunting and gathering,
get a deer for the family, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I thrived. Surfing does that to you. It humbles you in a way when you come in, you're like, well, nothing in this world is really that hard compared to that. Mm-hmm. It's just like so humbling, and that's why hiking is kind of my new surfing, because at the end of it, your lungs are open, and I love in the beginning of a hike you want to give up. Yeah. Every time on a hard hike in the beginning, I'm like, I'm not going all the way. And I took her on a couple but I was like about first 15 minutes, you're like, my body hurts. That's so far. I'm sweating already. And at the end, an hour or 2 hours later, you come down, you're like, and you're looking around like, should we go again? Like it's crazy what your body needs, and we don't give it to it.
Well, and also you conquered your mind.
Yeah, that's what it really comes down to.
The mind game.
The mind game. What's the future hold for you? I would like to know what the next year, 2 years. I know you're going to be living in Hawaii, but what
that would be great.
Is this company 100% of all your energy and stuff? Are you doing little side projects? Still working with athletes?
Yes, I like to work with athletes because it's a mind game, and I think there's some of the best there. And it's nice to see someone when they do conquer their mind. Water is a big thing. I'm very into regenerative farming. That's another thing we're playing around with.
What is that?
I think there's a lot of, I'm trying to think I just feel like what we're doing with our soil, there's better solutions. And we need to educate people on how we can feed our soils instead of, so we could plant and not be in situations with our food supplies in the future. Yeah. So water is going to be important, and quality water is definitely important, and filterization's huge. So,
and Heather, I noticed when you picked up your water bottle, I think you have some crystals in there.
I do.
Which ones are they?
I like to. Shungite is obviously a big one, and this is a major filterization. You know what I think is interesting with Mother Earth is that, in my opinion, this is one of the most powerful mineral. It's almost 100%. This one's called shungite.
Oh, it's so light.
Yeah, it's almost 100% carbon.
Holy
and
cows.
So what it does is it helps to purify water.
Huh.
So it's like a mega version of like those Brita filters, basically. Because aren't those carbon,
like that on
charcoal?
steroids? Yeah. So I guess what happened in Chernobyl way back, there was in the areas where this was filtering through the water, nobody got radiation. And so over in Russia, there's a lot of spas and there's a lot of hospitals that use this as a filterization system through all the water. So you're getting better quality water to feed our.
Where is this one from? Russia?
Yeah, well,
actually,
So not
all over. Or?
Yeah, sadly, it's only in Russia, which is obviously a
hard thing to get right now.
Exactly. So, but I think it's interesting because it's not pretty. And you wouldn't pick it up first, but yet it might be the most powerful. So, we can always things.
It blows your mind because all these are so heavy. I mean, this one right here is so heavy.
And that one's
and then
so
this
light.
one is paper light.
Exactly.
It's insane.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can tell this is special.
Yeah. So I think the future is to live a purpose-driven life, and to challenge oneself on a daily basis. Because for number one, I want to continue to make interesting people. I don't want to be bored, and I'm here to do something. So you know what I mean.
That.
I'm seeing a lot of similarities between both of you.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I just kind of
love
your
no
paths.
Excuses.
It's interesting.
I hate excuses, and it's like life is such a gift. It's like why, and that's what I've been doing is not living up to what I have most of my life, and that's what was depressing me. Is I was kind of giving up. And making excuses and making like, oh, well, I can't do this. It's just like your friend or just the person that said, I can't go to the beach. Mm-hmm. It's like, that is such a hard thing to hear for me. It's like, we could do anything. You know, even if you have the most busy, rich person in the world, you can always find time to take care of yourself. And that's the only thing that matters, right?
Well, you know what? The thing is, I think what's good about what you're doing is we intellectually know that, but sometimes we need to be inspired by people.
I agree with that.
And sometimes, like maybe your story, I have to say, for what you have lived through with a best friend, I mean, and you know that you work through that, and you're sharing your truth, and you're rising.
Right.
Okay. And we all go through times where we fall, and you know that's life, right? But how do we pick ourselves up? And we need more real stories like what you're doing. So thank you, because that's what people want to hear right now. Okay, we've been all low. How are you going to pick yourself up? What are you doing to help yourself get up in the morning? Which might sound like easy for some people, but it's not always that easy. Okay, and so I think it's important that you're living what you're saying you're doing.
Yeah, and I feel like losing people that are so influential and so important in your life that you never had before, when you lose them, you realize, okay, there's a reason why he's gone, and there's a reason why I'm supposed to live for him. I've always lived. That's actually my buddy. See a picture of him on the side of my thing? That's Jake.
Oh,
and
under Mind 77?
Yeah,
okay.
That's his company too. But it's like I hear his voice every single day. I hear it every day going, stop being a baby, stop being this, stop doing that. And I always, you watch movies that kind of inspire you and stuff, and you hear stuff like that. But when it really happens in your life, it's pretty, it's undeniable inspiration. Like I wake up every day going, I have to do something crazy today to find who I am. I'm always trying to prove to myself something. And I love that. I don't want to be a lump on the log. I never want to have my life flash before my eyes quickly. I want to live it.
Yeah. So when I looked at your astrology, it was interesting because I'm obviously an astrologer but one of the gifts in this lifetime is you'll find it sounds like what you're doing is when you live by faith.
Right. 100%.
That is in this lifetime, as long as you do that for your formula, your life will it'll open up for you. And I mean, I know that, like, how cool is that? Hey,
it's so cool.
But it might not always be
It takes
easy.
away the fear, too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
It's a
that's the
faith-driven
thing.
life, you know?
Everyone has an excuse, and that's what it is, because it's fear. It's fear of failing. And I've failed so many times in my life that I tell people all the time, being wrong is the most powerful thing you can have in your life. Saying, I'm wrong. And you don't realize how important it is, because everyone wants to be right, especially nowadays. And they all want to just die by the sword to be right about nothing. It's just the dumbest little thing they want to be right about. But if you say in a situation that you might be right, but you're like, I really don't know for sure, I'm probably wrong. It really has helped me get off my high horse and really relate to what's happening instead of being a foreigner to that moment.
I mean,
eventually I'm going to get
basically what we're known for is our jewelry. So I'd love to your listeners.
And Hawaii is the land of jewelry makers. I have so many beautiful jewelry makers over there. It's a joke.
I mean, with the shells and the sunshine cells and all the pearls and the I mean, everything's good. So if anyone is interested in, we specialize in men's jewelry.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, our luck has always come, a lot of men wear Energy Muse jewelry, and I brought some pieces.
No way.
See what you could do.
I just started wearing. This is my friend's watch that passed away. This is his custom watch they made. You want to see him? He's on the back of it. And I don't wear watches. But it's his watch. See, that's him snowboarding in the back.
Oh my God!
And then this necklace is because of him as well. I made it for him because he was a surfer, and I put his initials. But jewelry is a new thing for me. This is the last year. I don't ever wear jewelry. I've never worn jewelry.
Well,
I didn't wear a wedding ring.
This is very. This is
heavy.
Like this
beautiful watch. There's only 500 of them in the world. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So if anyone is interested, we're doing a Let's Poddy. All you have to do is, when someone listens to that, go to Energy Muse and enter that in, and we will do 20% off. And we have protection. Right. We have a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm going to give you a piece after this.
I did go on the website. You have so much stuff.
We do.
It's incredible. And where is it located? Are you in a building, or is there like a
We
shop
are basically So we are online. We're an online company. We have Torrance is where one of our offices are, but we have a distribution center. But it's all online at Energy Muse. But everything's pretty interactive, and we have pieces that I think and I know that shift. People wear pieces for 10 days. They feel something, and that's kind of how word got out about Energy Muse.
That's cool.
Yeah, Heather, I mean, I know the story personally just because I grew up with Energy Muse, but I would love for you to tell Benji kind of about how it all started with you and Timmy, literally like selling things out of the back of your cars, because I think that's just such an inspirational story as like a small business owner turned into not such a small
years
business.
ago when you were selling them.
Yeah. So have you ever heard of something called feng shui?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So
what do you think of the feng shui in here?
I think it's amazing. I love the
But
color.
we did open it up for you.
Yeah?
I'm not kidding. We were like, the couch was like this, and we were like, this isn't we need
You guys
flow
are
through
funny.
here.
Are
We
you
need
kidding
flow.
me?
No, that's
dead
for real.
serious.
We were
Oh my God,
moving couches
seriously,
We
around.
did.
That's
We said we wanted
hilarious.
energy flowing through the middle.
Oh, yeah, it was me and Benji
I'm not
picking up
kidding either.
the
It
pink
sounds like we're
couch.
joking, but it's
No.
and all I do is joke. And
Well,
that
I
was
have
serious.
to say that I walked in, I'm like, wow, impressive with
And
the
do you
floor
like the
plan in
pink?
here.
I like blue. I thought that would work.
I think it's, I mean, yes. I mean, it's all good.
It is good.
So just very quickly, I was selling real estate at the time. A Fortune 500 CFO from a large company 28 years ago said, hey, look, I'm going to buy a ton of real estate from you, but you have to make sure it has good feng shui. Now I'm like,
What is that?
I have, sure, yes. And he said, so I'm going to be looking soon. So I went to Monterey, California. I was in a room with men. Feng shui that I learned was classical based on mathematical degrees. And so I learned this whole way of doing things, and I ended up selling him a ton of real estate. And this was in the 80s when the market went down. But since I knew how to go in and I knew how to activate houses for wealth, or I could shift energy. What my specialty is formulas, helping people break through things, creating formulas with crystals, and also I know how to hack energy in homes and buildings and offices. So what happened was I got pregnant, and I couldn't do readings anymore, feng shui readings. So I came up with a necklace called Prosperity, which is jade and coins with red string brings money. My business partner and best friend, Timmy, and I think the biggest success, I will say, for me in life, and it makes me want to cry because it's so rad, and that's why I love your best friend story, is that after 22 years, we're still best friends. And we've been in business this long, and that's a lot to say. You know what I'm saying?
for sure.
Like, we just got back from Spain. We were there in 3 weeks and, doing business and traveling. And I just feel like it's such a blessing. But anyway, so she was in the garment industry. She said, let's make these necklaces. She put my energy of prosperity in a necklace. And we started out of the trunk of our car, and we got very lucky. Kristen Davis at the time was the very first person I feng shuied her house. And she said, Heather, I'll wear it. She was on Sex and the City. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, her. And then Mark McGuire at the time when he was before the whole thing. Richie Sambora. We had some, and then Phil Jackson. So we had some really great people that were wearing our jewelry, and the word got out. But yeah, our company basically started out of the trunk of our car, word of mouth, because people were getting results. And so it kind of defied the woo-woo and the energy and all that, because at the end of the day, I'm a researcher. I don't have time to do stuff that doesn't work. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have time. And so what I was able to create were formulas that athletes or actors or musicians could wear to help them shift their energy. And people started getting results, and that's how our company was really built. I wish I could say we had this business plan, and this is all. We didn't happen. It was a time of organicness where celebrities and people wore your stuff not because they were being paid. I don't know if you guys know Tony Robbins. He's a motivational speaker. He was one of the first people to get the jewelry. Wore it for, 20 some odd years. We're still his exclusive people at his foundation, but he has access to anything in the world.
Right.
So there's something to it. There's an energy to it. There's a formula to it. And I remember Tony always said that it only takes this much between this much and this much effort to be great, to be outstanding. Yeah. And this is where the hard work is.
It's kind of rad to hear, because I've heard so many great things about that guy, but he seems like the infomercial guy, and he's trying to sell you rabbit oil or whatever. It's like snake oil. But all the people are like, no, he's legit. And he's really just trying to find just what we're talking about right now, and that's the next thing that could actually help you in your life.
So I think it's stuck with the jewelry, because at the end of the day, it's something you wear every day. There's people, men, that don't wear any jewelry, don't wear wedding rings, they don't wear anything, and they don't leave the house without energy muse, because they feel it's like a protective shield for them. And maybe it is placebo, or maybe it's a belief system, or maybe it's what helps them get into a state of where their mind overcomes their fears. Whatever, it's 20 million things to different people. So,
this is mine.
Yeah.
It's because I feel like I'm connected to something bigger than me, because it's from my bestie. It sounds
Exactly.
weird.
But
That's
no, it
why I
doesn't.
only
Yeah.
wear and put things on my body so that's
has
why
to have
I do
meaning.
believe.
Yeah.
If you look at my body, it's all about my best friends and it's all about meaningful things. I don't wear it because it makes me look cool. That's not why I'm wearing it. So that's why I think this is going to be something I do down the line. You're going to come to my house and you're going to be like,
Yay.
of course, it's all on my fireplace.
There it is.
yeah.
Boom.
A big crystal geode in
Yeah,
the
like
house.
my
all
ex,
the
she would
energy.
always have crystals and stuff, and I never thought as, what are you doing with those things? And usually I'm a skeptic with everything.
Well,
I
and
was
you know
never
what?
that
I
way
get
about
it.
these. I mean, this is undeniable art from Earth. If
Yeah.
that's all it is. You know what I mean? If that's
Yes.
all it is, it's still art from Earth. When you go into Weiland's gallery, there's a dolphin made out of like some beautiful iron or whatever, and it always has this kind of stone. You know how he does that?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, and it looks just like this. And
Yeah,
it's-
like malachite.
So, I mean, you're basically getting a Weiland painting from Earth. It's
Yeah.
nuts.
It is. So that's how the story, that's how our company started. And really, it has been a lot of word of mouth and a lot of things we can't talk about because we do private things, and I'm in the business of keeping secrets instead of sharing them. But, our gift is to help people become unstuck and help people get back on path, as we all need to have
Such
some
a
tools,
killer
right?
meaning of life. I mean, if that's your job in life, bummer.
Yeah,
You know?
it's good.
I wake up happy. Ugh, it's disgusting.
I mean, I don't know what business venture you're about to have, but
I have
I
a
feel like
couple.
you're about to there's a lot of abundance about to happen for you. So receive it in. Does that make sense?
It does, and I hate success. It sounds so stupid, but another kind of lesson is I would always get to a point where I could be as good as Kelly Slater and Shane Dorian and those kind of people, and I'd always screw it up because I didn't want to be successful.
Self-worth.
I was so not self-worth. I had none of it. So when I would sabotage myself, I always sabotage. I mean, all my best friends that surf, they know it. Like, they're like, why would you do that? You're an idiot. Like, you could have just done this and you'd be like this. But I would do it unconsciously because I didn't want a lot of money. I didn't want fame, and I didn't want any
But
of
your
it.
journey, you could actually probably be a multimillionaire in this lifetime.
Oh, and I'm sure that's the
I mean,
thing. Money, I'd never
but
really.
I know, but the thing is like you won't be able to run from it.
Right. I want it to be natural and organic and for my kids. Everything's starting to flow. And
The
it's
momentum is happening.
And it's kind of fun because now I'm like watching my life.
Yeah.
I said it when I was in New York. I go, I don't know who just did that. Like I feel times now in the last year that I'm like, who? I did that. And I'm like, I see it from some other perspective where I'm out doing something that's so scary and difficult. And then I look back at it and go, I did it. And I'm like, holy shit. You know, like retrospect, I guess you will. I can see things happening now. Before I was way ahead of it and I was trying to do stuff. And now I'm like looking at it happen. And it sounds so crazy, but I think that's really what being in the present means, is like watching your success happen instead of trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching it like, whoa, this
Yeah.
is so cool. And it's exciting now and I can enjoy it.
You've got to make fun of all this crazy stuff.
Yes.
Because it's
I
like,
love that
why
you're
What?
not sensitive to it because you got to make fun of yourself.
Oh my God.
But I believe in it. So.
And some of it is a little crazy wackadoo, okay? People can get that way. So I get it. All right. Well, you guys, it's been awesome.
I can't
meeting
thank you enough.
I will,
Heather, that was so much fun.
that was great.
Honestly.
Oh my God, you're everything that everybody says you are.
Oh my
Nice
God,
to
that
meet
was
you.
so cool. I can't believe how quick
That was
it went.
fast.
That's insane.
That was
And I
fast.
recorded this time.
So congratulations. I mean, you're making it happen. I mean,